Oklahoma. Coach Jenny Baranchek will remind you to raise your hands if you have a question. Identify yourself by name and outlet if you don't mind. And we'll get underway. Coach, would you like to make an opening statement or just go into questions?
You can go right into questions.
Okay.
Ryan Aber from the Oklahoman. Jenny, I know we've talked a lot about Skylar's process this year and everything that she's been through. I wanted to ask you, though, about the last month or so of the season, the way that she's adjusted to that and seemingly sort of found a groove that had been missing for a lot of the year. What have you noticed about that?
Well, sometimes when you start watching really good teams grow, you kind of forget that it's a process, and especially great players. And you could see Skylar throughout the year grow, struggle, fall, get up, have a good game, manage expectation, try to manage really good players around her. I thought the most impressive thing was, a couple games ago, and we're in the post-game press conference, and she's asked about having a disappointing year. And I thought her response was phenomenal, where she just said, this is actually my favorite year because I've grown the most. And sometimes when you face adversity, you build resilience. And we don't always honor that. And I think Sky's honored it. And I think she's stayed in it. I think she doesn't believe when people tell her she's great, and she doesn't believe when people tell her she's not. And I think that's really what she's been able to do. She's been a phenomenal leader. She's one of my all-time favorite people to coach because she stays present. She looks in the mirror. She doesn't blame anybody. But it's been so fun to be able to see her have fun and play with this immense joy. And she wants other people around her to be great. I think that's really the trademark of really what we're trying to teach young people in coaching. That's our job, is to make sure that these young people can see their own greatness, but also the greatness of other people, and that's Skylar.
Hi, Coach. Alexa Philpott from ESPN. Being able to have Reagan with your program this year, what has she meant to this team? What has she meant to just be able to coach both on and off the floor? And what do you feel like her ceiling is as she continues to get comfortable with you all in the program?
Well, we know her ceiling. She's not even close. And she's got so much potential. And I love the way that she's really come into our program. She's one of the world's best people. She frequents Hobby Lobby, right? And she wants to make arts and crafts and meaningful gifts for her teammates. You don't always get to see that, right? From a center who's pretty aggressive, who's physical, but off the floor, she's just the most amazing person. And honestly, it's taken us a little bit because of that. I think it's taken her a little bit to come into a team and really be assertive. I think transferring's hard, and especially when there were unique circumstances as to why she did. She's been so open-minded. She picked a team and a program that's a completely different style, but she picked it for reasons because she really just liked the players when she came on the visit. I think that's phenomenal too, and obviously she's really elevated our level of play. Sahara Williams one time talked about, and I'm paraphrasing her quote, but she mentioned something about when she knew that Reagan came, it elevated a level of attention to our program. It elevated a level of play. And so she said, I got to get better. And I think that's what our team sees, is that everybody wants to elevate the level of our play. Everybody wants to get better. And I think Reagan's been a huge part of that without even knowing that she was a huge part of that.
Hey, Jenny, Chantel Jennings with The Athletic. Kind of a follow-up to Alexa's question. When you're recruiting someone out of the transfer portal, you don't get like the 4 years that maybe you would get with them when they're a high schooler. I was curious, was there anything that maybe you didn't realize during the recruiting process with her in that time period from Oregon State to Oklahoma that once she like locked into the team on the floor, you're like, oh, she actually unlocks this with our team, or she changes this about our team? And I'm sure you imagined her raising the level, but maybe are there certain things that you found unexpected that she's changed about the team or how you're able to do things?
No question. I I think when you have somebody that's coming in and they averaged all these points and they led their team to an Elite Eight, I thought she would come in and just take over. And not that she didn't, but she deeply cares about the people around her, almost to a fault. And I don't even think she came in with this where she exuded confidence, but she made the rest of us really confident by her being on the floor. And so she's grown through that and been able to see that. But she's also given everybody this unique belief, not in winning or where you're going, but just in their own games. She's defensively been a lot better than maybe I even anticipated. We knew we needed a low block defender, but she's got mobility. She's led the break sometimes for us. I love the growth that she's had. I think she can take some hits and be really physical. I also am really impressed that she chose to play in the SEC conference. A lot of times players, especially like her, that are, stronger in their post play, don't necessarily want to take that head on because it can kind of make your game not look as good. But she chose to do that. And I've just been really impressed with that, just her ability to be the ultimate team player.
Hey, Coach. Brendan Potts, World Exposure Report. Obviously, you're focused on this game and this season, but Aaliyah Chavez committed to Oklahoma recently. Can you talk about her skill set and how that fits what you're doing in this program and how that can take you to the next level?
Well, and I actually can't talk about recruiting because she hasn't signed yet. But I will say this team has done an amazing job of growing to be able to attract some attention from really high-level players. And I think it's because of the culture of this program and the foundation. So we're excited about continuing to evolve as a program.
Sort of related to that, Jenny, not exactly, but the sort of the benchmarks of the growth of this program. I wanted to ask you about a couple of them. Getting Peyton a couple of years ago and that decision to transfer here, and then Sahara. Just how important were those moments to build to things that you've had, like Reagan, like some other recruiting wins that you've had that obviously have pushed y'all to this level?
Obviously, recruiting is the lifeblood of what you do, but culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? And so if we don't take care of what we have in the locker room first, you don't get to attract the level of people that we're attracting. And you want to attract that high-level player. And at the same time, look at all the players that have stayed. You look at Liz Scott coming back. You look at Skylar Vann and her growth. So proud of those moments. And yes, there's, our world is different. Our world is different with the transfer portal. Our world is different with the NIL platform. Our world is just completely different. And it changed pretty much probably a month or two when I took this job. We went to a new conference. All the rules, laws changed. We're following state laws. We're trying to keep up with the NCAA. And I know more about litigation in courts than I would have ever wanted to, nor thought I would. And at the same time, I think you still have to keep focus on your culture and your team and those relationships. And so every single one of those players didn't pick us because of any of those reasons. They picked us because they fell in love with the team and the place. I mean, Oklahoma, as you know, is a very special place. We have such unique people here. There's so many programs that compete every year for national championships. I mean, you talk about softball, women's gymnastics, and yet our football team, every one of their members came to our game against Iowa. So, and our head football coach was leading chants and cheers. This is a special place. And I think when those players started to pick it, I think, there's more eyes on it, especially from a national perspective. But it really starts in that locker room, and it really starts with the women. They believe in something bigger than themselves, and they believe, they want to play with a joy, they want to play with a passion, and they want to play for one another. So to me, that's why those players are coming. That's what people are looking at. And then when they come, they feel something different. That's what we want to continue to do.
Hi, Coach. Austin Getz with KHQ here in Spokane. Here in Spokane, we cover Washington State, where Cami Etheridge and Deb Patterson are, where you got your career started at Kansas State. And I was able to talk to Deb and reflect on that WNIT championship season. And she talked about how special it was to have you and Cami and Coach Lori Kane, who's also there. Just was wondering if you would be able to take a couple minutes just to reflect on your relationship with them, what your relationship today is with them, and how special getting your start with coaches like that was.
I was so lucky. Like I loved my experience playing. And a lot of people get into coaching because they either love it, don't know what else to do, or hated their experience and they want other people to do well. And I loved it so much. And when I got done, I had no idea what I was going to do. I didn't say, oh, I want to be the head coach or I want to do this. I kind of got lucky enough to fall into it. And I don't know if there could have been better mentors to start. And, when you're 22, you kind of think you know everything. Heck, when you're 43, you kind of think you know everything. But I learned so much in those couple years because they let me do so many things. And they were such great mentors. And I mean, you look at Cami and, we obviously play Texas and that's a big rival and you see her jersey retired there. That's a big deal. I mean, she was a phenomenal player, but she has so much humility. Her work ethic, Deb's work ethic, they taught you so much about keeping it really blue collar. And I was just so impressed. Lori Kane was a senior when I came in. We're the same age. She actually redshirted a year, and I've never seen somebody shoot so well. And she was just this incredible player. But I reflect now, after being in this seat for a number of years, and those were just pivotal moments. I mean, there's certain things that we're still doing in practice that I learned when I was 22. They're incredible people. They have got so much humility and they're really, really good. And I was just really lucky to be a part of that.
Thank you. Maddie Kenny with the New York Post. I have two questions, but my first one, I wanted to go back to Reagan Beers. You said that several players felt like they wanted to elevate their level of play since her arrival. What did that exactly look like, beyond the obvious of just hard work? Like, what specifically did that look like?
Well, I think each player really, took what their individual game is and said, okay, a lot of us said, okay, we got to shoot the three better, right? Because if she's going to be in the paint. I mean, we went from Sahara Williams being a 5 for us a year ago in defending low block post play to having to defend best guards because of Reagan. I think that's elevated Alexi Keys saying, okay, I got to be better on ball defense because now I've got a rim protector in Reagan. I think obviously the post passing we've had to work on, and we've worked on that a lot, and we've turned it over a lot, and we've created a lot of opportunities, but we've had to kind of fall down and get up and work through that. I also think that overall, you're just trying to work on your professional development, right? Your skill set to be able to play to each other's strengths. I think the other thing that we've really had to go through in that is we can't be a one-hit wonder. We can't have where we're just going to feed Reagan every possession of every game that we lose the rest of our movement. And we've had to grow through that, and we've had to learn a lot. We've had to learn a lot about the game. We've had to live learn a lot too. So we're playing against great teams. We've had to learn when she's on the floor and when she's off the floor, it can look a little bit different, and we've had to grow through that. So I'm trying not to do coach speak with you, I'm trying to tell you, but there's so many different skill sets that everybody had to really hone in on. And it wasn't, hey, we got to work on these 10 things. It was, okay, I need to do this better. I need to do this better so that we can play to each other's strengths.
This will be our last question.
And then just 4 years in, how do you feel about the trajectory of Oklahoma women's basketball?
Hell, I don't know yet. I mean, everything can change, right? In one in 1 second. So I will tell you, I was so impressed. I was so proud of what we walked into. And so even though people can say records, nobody wants to take over after a legend in Sherry Cole. I didn't think that I would ever want to do this. And here I am, right? God works in really mysterious ways. And it was the perfect time. It was the perfect fit from a team. And I can tell you, to have a legend like Sherry behind you and wanting the program to do really well and for it to be better than it was the day before, you don't get that either. You know, that's what's, I'm really, really proud to be part of this program, but I also know that I'm just the gatekeeper of the program right now. I love where we're at. I love where we're going. We're still building a fan base. We need to continue to do that. That's important. Right now, from a national perspective, we're probably getting more attention than we even do from a regional perspective, and we need to continue to change that, and I think we are, and I think we're growing. But as coaches, we want everything yesterday, and so I'm proud of where we're going, and yet I know we have a long way to go.
Thank you, Coach. We'll welcome Oklahoma student athletes in just a moment.
You guys, thank you. Thanks for your